In 2017, the OK hand sign was officially considered a hate symbol. And supposedly it started out as a joke, but eventually you had a bunch of different white supremacist groups that started to use this hand sign. The three fingers are supposed to create a W for white, and then that circle is supposed to form a P for power. So after 2017, the OK hand sign now stands for white power. And again, you've got a bunch of different white supremacist groups that are using this hand sign. Now, if you notice, all of this symbolism that can lead you back to Saturn and to Satan is also going to always lead you back to the oppression of black people. It's the exact same thing with the black sun. You've had people throwing up this OK hand sign for decades. Any and everybody, literally everybody with any type of influence and high levels of success within this system. They've all thrown up the OK hand sign, or what looks like those 3 6s. And then you fast forward to today, and now this same hand sign is being associated with white power. So we've got Saturn, Satan, 3 6s, the material world, and black oppression by white people all seemingly being connected together in some type of way. Now you got to understand, this hand sign has been around for a very long time. And in Hinduism and Buddhism, each finger has a different meaning. And when you place different fingers together, you get different interpretations. And when the fingers are placed in this position, it's called the Gyan Mudra, or the mudra of knowledge. Now, the word mudra just means a hand gesture. And this particular mudra is focused on strengthening the mind, sharpening your memory, strengthening your brain capacity, and basically bringing out the full potential of the mind. Now, remember, you got all these influential people throwing up something that looks identical to the Gyan Mudra. And remember, these are all the people that have the strongest influence over the minds of the masses. Because think about it, you've got religious figures throwing it up, astronauts, astrophysicists, people who convey different levels of knowledge to the general public. And their main function, again, seems to be getting you to focus all your attention on the material world. So getting you to allow your matter to take over your mind. And then a lot of times they take that Gyan Mudra and they place it over their eye. And of course, from everything we can see, it looks like that eye is pointing back to Saturn. So it's almost like it's hinting at Saturn controlling the mind of the masses and keeping the masses trapped in the material world. Now, another thing that you see a lot, the upside down cross. And I think we all know it's a blatant sign of Satanism, taking the traditional cross and turning it on its head. It almost doesn't get any more blatant, because we know that that upside down cross goes back to the Church of Satan. And outside of the pentagram, it's like one of the most recognizable satanic symbols out there. But believe it or not, people who practice Satanism actually adopted this symbol from the early Christians, because in Christianity, the upside down cross is actually called St. Peter's cross, because, you know, St. Peter was one of the 12 disciples, and he denied being a disciple and being associated with Jesus 3 different times. You had 3 different times where 3 different people asked him if he was a disciple and if he knew Jesus. And all 3 times he said no. So there's this belief by the Catholic Church that because of how much Peter turned his back on Jesus, after Jesus was crucified, Peter felt like he wasn't worthy of being crucified in the same way that Jesus was. So he personally asked the Roman guards to crucify him upside down. And so for the Catholics, St. Peter's cross became a symbol of humility. And you can actually see them using this cross during different processions. And specifically the head of the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican. Because remember how important St. Peter is as a patron saint to the Vatican. So much so that, again, they named the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church, St. Peter's Basilica, in honor of St. Peter. And remember how they depict St. Peter in the Vatican as that dark, black figure that they dress up in royalty with the crown and the robe. And then underneath that crown is that permanent halo, which again, because we're dealing with the Romans, you can't discount that connection between that halo of St. Peter and that halo around Saturn. And remember, with the astrological symbol for Saturn, you also have a cross, and that cross represents matter. And then when you fold that cross and bring it into a third dimensional form, it becomes a cube. So looking at the cross from a third dimensional form, no matter how you turn it, whether it's right side up or upside down, in that third dimensional form, it's still going to always be a cube. So just like with the goatfish, the eye of Horus, the eye of Ra, with the right side up cross or the upside down cross, you've got two dueling energies, two opposite forces coming from the same source. So when you actually look at it with that upside down cross representing somebody that's unfit of being looked at as Christ-like, and because of that connection to Satanism, it's almost like the Pope and everybody in the Vatican is bowing down and paying homage to that satanic, low vibrational half of this cube that represents the full spectrum of duality, the good, the evil, the negative, the positive. It's all coming from the same source, and they're sending all their energy to that negative side. And it's just like in Hinduism with the god Shani, with Shani being that physical manifestation of Saturn. And of course, Saturn is linked to the root chakra. And so because of that, Shani rules over the lower nature of humanity. And in Hinduism, when you're working with Shani, you're basically working to discipline your lower self and bring about that balance of the lowest part of yourself, the root chakra, the foundation. And in order for that to happen, you have to face all those negative aspects head on. In order to learn how to balance them, you have to experience them. And so Shani is known for manifesting those negative aspects and actually bringing obstacles and adversaries into your life, into your path, for you to work through and move forward into that more balanced state. And another interesting thing is that the only way to decrease those negative effects of Shani, other than working your way through them, is to worship him and to basically give into your lower self, your root chakra. And if you worship him, you gain power and success within the material world. But it's a give and take, because you also don't overcome Shani, and you basically stay stuck in Saturn, in that root chakra. Remember, the root chakra, just like Saturn, is connected to the earth. And so if you give into it, it keeps you grounded on the earth and you never reach that next level. Now, there was a guy that worked as a mechanical engineer at NASA named Norman Bergrun, and most people are probably familiar with him. And he wrote a book in 1986 called The Ringmakers of Saturn.